Hello, boys and ghouls. Shiv here. I'm going to be doing your zombie tutorial today for Night of the Living Dead. I'm very excited to see the show. I know that you guys have been working really hard during Tech Week, and I really appreciate your patience. So, let's get started. Let's zombify ourselves. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my makeup wipes, and I'm going to take off my makeup that I had on last night. I've still got a little bit of eyeliner on right now because it's always best to start with a fresh face. You want to make sure that none of your street makeup is going to blend into the colors that we're going to be using for our zombie. There we go. That feels nice and clean. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to secure my hair because I have an awful lot of hair and it's going to get in the way. So if you have long hair like me, just tie it back real quick. All right, now we're ready. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my base, which is your death flesh. You can see I only have a little tiny bit left hiding down there in the corner. And I'm going to take my popsicle stick. I'm going to scoop out just a little tiny bit. And what I like to do is I like to put it on the palm of my hand. And that kind of lets it warm up a little bit. It lets it loosen up. You can see it's going on a lot easier already. So we're just going to take that right there. And we're going to start putting our death flesh on. Now you want to make sure that you're going to cover any skin that might be showing. So don't forget about your ears. Go right over top of your earlobes there. Make sure that you're blending down onto your neck. Now, depending on how much skin your ghoul is showing, you may have to go down a little farther. You might have to go down to, say, about here. And just make sure that you're blending and connecting everything together. And one more thing to keep in mind when you're putting your base on, cover up your lips. By covering up your lips, you're already sucking out the color from your face. And you can see just that little bit of change is already changing my face dramatically. A good way to make sure that your base is even is to pat it really gently like I'm doing right now with the flat end of your sponge right here. That'll take out any streaks or bumps that you might start to see happening. Make sure I get this ear over on this side. There we go. We're already starting to look a little bit dead. All right. Now I'm going to take my death flesh and I'm going to go up here onto my forehead. Make sure you blend right into your hairline. It's okay to get it in your hair. That's fine. There we go. Starting to look a little bit more like a ghoul. Also, remember that your hands are really important in this show. You're going to be reaching through windows and grabbing at people. So make sure that you pay attention to the top of your hand. Take your death flesh right over top of your fingers there. You can go right over top of your nails. And you can see the difference that makes already. Alright, we're starting to look pretty spooky now. Now, as I said before, depending on how much flesh you're showing, you might have to cover a little bit more. That being said, don't cover your entire body. You don't have to worry about that. We'll have plenty of blood to cover up any places that don't have death flesh on them. So just make sure everything's blended. I've got my whole arm here, but I'm going to take it down to right about there. Looks pretty good and natural. And then the rest of this we can cover with bruising and blood. Alright. So now that we've got our base on, we're going to move on to some details. Now, I apologize, my bruise wheel is a slightly different color than the one that you guys have. I made sure to get you one that had a yellow in it. Mine doesn't have that yellow, so I made sure that I pulled this one out so that we all have the same colors. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the black that you have in your burn wheel. On the back it's going to say burns and blisters right back here. I'm going to take the red that we have in there and go underneath of my eye. And just follow the natural curve of your own eye. You're going to have a little bit of a curve right here in the well of your eye. And you can bring that red all the way down there. And we're starting to get a really nice sunken in sort of look to our eye sockets. Just start right at the corner and blend out as close to your waterline as you feel comfortable getting. Put on one more layer, make it nice and bright. There we go. I'm going to go on my other eye. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Just take this red that you have in your burn wheel and go right underneath of the eye. I got a little bit on my top lid there, but that's okay because we're going to cover that up in a second. There we go. Very cool. All right. Now the next step is we're going to take the black that you have inside of your burn wheel. And we're going to go on the top of our lids this time. I like to do this one with a brush because it requires a little bit more detail. Start it with a brush and then blend it with a sponge, but that's up to you. Alright, and I'm bringing it all the way up to this natural fold that I have at the top of my eyelid. Alright. Now I'm going to take a clean corner of my sponge Make sure it doesn't have any other colors on it. I'm going to start blending that out so that your ghoul has a nice smoky eye. You'll notice that I like to leave a little bit of space between my shadowing and my brow. That's because I like to draw in my brows a little bit more dramatically, a little bit darker to give a menacing sort of a look. But you can also bring the shadow all the way up to your eyebrow. This is where you can start to get creative. This is where you can start to differentiate your ghoul from the other ghouls and really start to be individual about it. So play around with different ideas and see what you like. I'm going to draw in a little bit of eyebrow for you so you can see what I mean. Get a little closer. Just a little bit darker and a little bit pointier than my own natural brow. Nothing too dramatic or cartoony looking. Just, there we go. Now I'm starting to feel like a zombie. All right, the next thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna take a clean sponge and we're gonna start some bruising. Now, bruises are some of my favorite makeup to do because you get to be really creative. You can use all kinds of colors, and really, there's no way that you could possibly mess them up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some green. I'm going to go on my arm here. You can see, there we go, there's the green. You can use any number of colors in your bruise wheel. Bruises are all different colors. I don't know about you guys, but when I bruise, I get really green. Maybe it's because I'm Irish. This one is the dark blue that you guys have in there. And you can see that that's creating a really nice bruise there. And we're going to use the same method that we've been using. We're just going to go really lightly and blend into the skin. When it's a little bit translucent, it looks even more real. I'm going to take a bruise right here for you. This is the dark red color that you have in here. I really like that one. It's very natural looking. We're starting to create kind of a welt look there. I'm going to put some of this purple over it. This purple right there. Darken it up a little bit. And let's put some green in there. There we go. You can blend with your fingers if you like. I do that a lot if I'm just working on my own makeup with myself. Very cool. Let's put some over here. Since I've got my arm showing, let's take advantage of that. That's a little bit of that purple. I'm going to put some green on it now. Right on the outside there. Turn the music up a little bit for you. And if you have any own bruises on yourself, you can look at them as reference points. I usually have some kind of bruise on me. That one's very real. That's the one I showed you guys last week at the tutorial. It's looking a little better than it was before, but you can see that's what a real bruise looks like. 100% not makeup. And we're gonna model it after that. So if you're a klutz like me, that can certainly work in your advantage. A little bit more green in that one. There we go. Alright, I'm going to do one on my neck over here so you guys can see it really well. You see, I'm just blending it into the skin, especially around the edges, so the edges are particularly translucent and your own skin tone is showing through. Bruises are all different shapes, all different colors. If you want to do one that's a circle, one that's more of like a line, maybe it's a choke mark or a fingerprint, a grab mark of some kind. Like that right there. Let's blend those in a little bit more. There we go. That looks like a grab. All right. Very cool. And like I said, this is where you get to be creative. Keep in mind what caused your zombie to die. What was it that injured your zombie? Maybe that's going to influence the way that you do your makeup. Do you have a head wound? Did your zombie cut something? Did they bleed out? You know, there's all different kinds of injuries that you can play with. And the concept that we're going for with this is that I really wanted it to have that feel of the original 1968 version, that very eerie and creepy, unsettling sort of zombie. There we go. Now we're starting to look pretty banged up. That's a good face. That's a good zombie face I just made. Alright, I'm going to do a little bruising on this arm so that we can even it out. And again, like I said, use whatever colors you want. I tend to use the dark red and the green a lot for my bruises, but it all depends on your skin tone. It all depends on how severe you want those different bruises to be. I'm going to change the shape of that one a little bit since they're all looking a little round. There we go. And another technique that you can use, you pat really lightly. Like that, instead of smearing like I was before. It sort of gives you a slightly different texture. You can see there's almost a little bit of a stippling effect. Very cool. All right. Awesome. Now the next thing that I'm going to show you is a really easy way to make veins. I love doing veins. They're really unsettling. And it only takes a few seconds. Now I'm going to take my bruise wheel again, and remember, mine's a little bit different than yours. Imagine that this is yellow right here, and you've got your exact bruise wheel. I'm going to take this green that we have, and I'm going to go down my arm. What I'm going to do is make sure that your brush is really thin like that. And how you do that is you wipe it on both sides, and it creates a really fine point at the tip of the brush. See that? What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply look at my own veins and take lines straight down and let them start branching off from each other like that. Now I like to start with a green and then layer on top a little bit of this dark red that we have right here, so that it's got the green showing from underneath like that. There we go. And think of it like a happy little tree. We're gonna take the branches, little Bob Ross moment, and make sure that the veins extend out from both sides and just taper off really lightly. Since our zombies are infected with toxins, maybe their veins are bulging a little bit. Get some more green in there. And you really just want to go over it very gently. You don't need a heavy hand for this kind of makeup. And here we go. We've got some nice, sickly zombie veins coming down. I'll do some up here so you guys can see it too. And again, I'm just taking my brush, going back and forth and making sure that point is very, very fine. And you kind of want to make sure that they have a slight curve to them. So if you want to move your hand back and forth a little bit, make like an S sort of a shape as you're going down. And just let them trail off naturally, just like your own veins do. There we go. I'm going to do a little bit on my neck, just so you guys can get a better view. A little harder doing it in the webcam than it is in my mirror. There we go. Push that down a little bit. Alright, that looks a little bit more like veins. There we go. There we go. Nice pulsing, throbbing vein in my neck. Very cool. Alright. Now next up, my favorite part, of course, we're going to be playing with our blood. So we've got our stipple sponge here. Stipple sponge is a plasticky material. It's very squishy, and it's got these little porous holes inside of it, and it's got little scrapes around the edges. It's great for cuts and scrapes, road burn, gashes, and also any sort of texturing. If you need like a pock mark sort of a texture or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back into our bruise wheel. I'm going to do a little detail under my eyes and just press really lightly. I'm going to take a little green too and go around my eyes a little bit. And see, that's kind of got a nice rotted sort of look to it there. Do a little up here. And just pressing real lightly with just a little bit of color that we have in our bruise wheel. It's got kind of sort of a dirt look to it. A little bit of speckles of dirt and bruising. And it gives our zombie a little bit more dimension. And it's okay if it overlaps onto that red. Very cool. All right. Now that we've done that, blood time. I'm going to take my little pot of blood that I have here, my fresh scab / thick blood. I'm going to take my stipple sponge on the clean edge, the edge that doesn't have any Ben Nye on it right now. And you can see it's nice and sticky. It's got a gelatin corn syrup kind of consistency. And remember, this is the blood that is perfectly safe to eat. 100%. And it tastes pretty good, actually. It's mint flavored. So I'm going to go right in the corner of my mouth, right there. Drag it on up. You can see that it's creating a sort of scrape. Very cool. All right. Go up on my forehead here, create another wound there, and the deeper the wound, the darker the color should be. So if you want to create something that looks like a real gouge, pile on a lot of the blood. This stuff dries pretty quickly, and it actually coagulates like real blood, so it'll start to get dark, it'll start to get thick, and really, really scabby. So just pile it on there. Get it right in there. Minty. Now, what I like to do with the fresh scab, because like I said, your hands are very important in this show. You should definitely pay attention to putting some bruising on your hand. I'm doing a little light bruise right there. People are definitely going to be looking at your hands when they're in the audience. And make sure that you keep in mind things like your knuckles. You can put like a little bit of blood right there on your knuckles. Right here down on my fingertips is very eerie, very spooky looking. A little bit of blood on the top of my hand. There we are. Now I showed you a couple different kinds of blood the other day. That blood is perfectly edible. This blood is also perfectly edible. The Ben Nye products are absolutely safe to eat, the blood at least. Please don't eat your death flesh. But this is your drippy liquid mouth blood. So what we can do with this is we can use one of our brushes. And what I sometimes do is I let it drip down the brush a little bit, and I use the side of the brush and create some scrapes like that. However, I wouldn't recommend using this a lot on your body. It's really specifically made for your face and mouth area. It gets a little sticky is really the reason why, and that's why I got you that gallon of costume blood. So we'll play more with the arm later, but for now, what I am going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to add it to the wound that I have on my head. Now I definitely recommend using this on your face area. It's very easy to guide this blood, so it's not going to go into your eyes or anything like that. It's going to stay wherever you guide it if you want it. Like Ghoul Johnny is going to be having it dripping down directly in front of his face. Just make sure that you're guiding it away from your own eyes. And I'm going to add it to the blood I have in the corner of my mouth here, so that it looks nice and wet and fresh. You can see it's getting a little bit darker. It's looking deeper. Delicious. Not as delicious as brains, but pretty delicious. Another thing that you can do with this mouth blood that's pretty cool. Take a little shot, and if it's resting right there on top of your teeth, you see I can still talk, it's coating my tongue, nice and gross, and you can let it drip out the corner of your mouth. Perfectly safe to swallow, you don't have to spit it back out. Tastes like thick mouthwash. Just trailing down here, I'm going to guide it down onto my neck. I'm going to smudge it a little bit here in this corner so it's not quite a perfect straight line. There we go. All right. Now we're starting to look like ghouls. Take the extra blood. I'm just going to pat it right here. Awesome. All right. Now, back to the arm, because I got a little excited and I started using my sticky arm blood. I have my own gallon right here of my my ghoul blood. This is the one that's not edible. Please learn from my mistakes and don't put this in your mouth. It tastes awful. That was many years ago before I discovered the beauty of edible Ben Nye blood. Please remember not to put this in your mouth. But this blood is perfect for costuming and for your body. That's what I have here on this tank top right now. This is the work shirt that I use for Trapped in a Room with a Zombie. It's perfectly washable if you're using your own clothing for the show. So don't worry, it does come out with just a little bit of water and detergent. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take my gallon. I put just a little bit in my hand here. And now I'm going to put it on my arm. And this works in the same way that the thick blood does. It really starts to coagulate as it dries. It really sort of starts to oxidize and turn brownish. It looks very realistic. It looks like really dried blood on you. And I'm just going to put it all over because I love blood. Don't worry about making any mistakes with your bruising or with your veins, because anything that doesn't look perfect when you're doing it, you can cover it up with blood. That's one of the best things about zombies. There's really no way that you can mess this up. So please don't be nervous, guys. And again, if you have any questions at all, please feel free to Facebook me or text me. I'm here to help you guys. Zombies are my favorite monster of all time, and I am absolutely here to make sure that you guys are as ghoulish and scary as possible. So I'm going to take this extra body blood, and I'm going to put it up here on my arms. It dries relatively quickly, so just give yourself a few minutes before you have to go out on stage if you're going to be bumping into people or set pieces or anything like that. Make sure that we're not making a huge mess, although zombies are pretty messy. I'm going to freshen up that blood that I had on my knuckles before. That's all the Thriller dance that I know. I'm going to put it down here on this arm because I didn't really put any bruising on this arm, and that's kind of what I was saying before. Don't worry about it. If you forgot something, remember that you've always got blood to back you up. Now the very last thing that I need to show you guys is how to powder and how to clean off your brushes. Now powdering is really easy. I've made you guys socks. They're just basic tennis socks, you know, and they're full of 99-cent baby powder. So, I've got a few left over. There's not a lot of baby powder left in this guy. But you really want to make sure that you do this before you put your blood on. I'm really sorry that I forgot about it until this point in the video, guys. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to powder this vein that I put right here. It doesn't have any blood on it. See, the thing is that if you powder after you have all of this nice, beautiful, chunky mouth blood on you, it's going to, the baby powder is going to get stuck in there, and it's going to lighten the color, and it's going to look all bleh. So, and not the good kind of zombie bleh that we want. So, please make sure that you powder before you put your blood on. After you've put on your base and your eyes, after your cream bruises are all done, then you powder. I'm very, very sorry that I forgot until now, but I'll show you right here. We're going to take our powder sock, and the way that you make the powder come out is that you sift it. Just like that. And it's just like if you're putting confectioner sugar on a cake. I'm going to sift it. I'm also going to pat it a little bit just because mine doesn't have very much left in it. And you can see the powder on there. See how it's muting the color just a little tiny bit. What this does when you put baby powder on is that it takes out the oil in the Ben Nye cream-based makeups. So when you sweat, there we go. Now the powder's really coming out of there. It's snowing. But what it does is it takes that oil out and it lets it set in place so that you can sweat, you can get this wet. I told you guys last week that I have jumped into a pool with full zombie makeup on and nothing has come off. That's how good this method is. Now I'm going to take my brush. It's a little bit bigger than yours. If your brush isn't opening, make sure that you can smash it down on a flat surface. Just kind of move it around like that and it'll open up the bristles a little bit more. I know your brushes are brand new, so they're not going to be as poofy as this one is right now. But I'm just going to get off that excess powder. So it just came right off. And now I can move it. It's not going anywhere. See? See that detail's still in place? Even though I'm rubbing at it, it's not moving. I can also get it wet with sweat or with regular water, and it's not going to budge until you get it off with the makeup remover wipes. You can get off the blood with water. I recommend rinsing the blood off first because it is food-based. So it comes off the same way that dried corn syrup would, with just a little bit of water. But to get off this Ben Nye, it's not going to work if you just wash your face or if you go home and take a shower. You really need the makeup wipes because they have certain agents in them that cut through the oils and the baby powder and everything that we're using to keep it in place. So make sure that you're removing it with these and you're getting your blood off with just regular water. This will rinse right off. Now one more thing. Cleaning your brushes. You can see my brushes are kind of messy right now. They've got blood and stuff on them. We've been working pretty hard. Now, this is another use of your makeup wipes. See the blood's coming right off there. Make sure you get into the tip of the brush so that you're getting all that color out, so that you don't get a surprise tomorrow if you try and put some green on and it comes out purple. So just use your makeup wipes to clean your regular brushes. Your large brushes for the powder, you really shouldn't have to clean that much, but if you do, just tap them. And the powder will come right out. And lastly, your stipple sponge. This is mostly going to be full of your thick blood, so what you want to do is rinse it out with warm water. That's really going to break down the blood that's in here. It is going to get gunked up and gross and start looking like that. And if it starts getting really full, you're not going to be able to get this nice, fine stippling effect. It's going to start smearing. It's going to start backfiring on you. So make sure that you're cleaning out your brushes and that you're rinsing your stipple sponges at the end of the night. Now I think that's it for Ghoul School. Like I said, if you guys have any questions at all, please feel free to call me. I am so excited to see the show. I'll be there on Sunday. Now that we have our look, let's take one more shot of blood. And there you have it. Now you're a zombie. Go out and eat some brains. Break all the legs. Eat all the legs. Watch this video as many times as you feel necessary to learn these techniques. And again, please don't be afraid to hit me up on Facebook or send me a text. I'm here for you guys. I want to be your zombie coach. Happy hunting!